You don't have to pretend you're okay. Not here, not at midnight, not in an empty hallway. He said it quietly, the way you say something true when there's no audience left to perform for. His mop had stopped moving. The fluorescent light above them flickered once, then held. And the woman sitting on the floor against the glass wall, heels off, knees pulled to her chest, tears sliding silently down a face that had probably never let anyone see them, looked up slowly at the man in the gray uniform. She didn't say anything for a long moment. She just looked at him the way people look when they've been alone so long that a single sentence of genuine kindness breaks something open. Corwin Slater was 33 years old. He had worked the overnight shift at Harlan & Voss Consulting for 4 years. He knew every creak in the building's old bones, every elevator that hesitated, every corner where the heating didn't reach. He knew the building better than most people who worked there knew their own offices. But he had never seen anyone sitting on the floor of the 42nd floor hallway at midnight. Not like this. Her name, he didn't know yet. She was dressed in what had been a sharp charcoal blazer and dark trousers. Her laptop bag leaned against the wall beside her. A single folder lay open on the floor, papers fanned out like something had been dropped in a hurry and never quite gathered back. He didn't ask what was wrong. He didn't hover. He simply walked to the small supply closet at the end of the hall, came back with a paper cup of water from the cooler inside, and set it down beside her without a word. She stared at the cup. Then she laughed, a small, broken sound. I forgot buildings had people in them at night. Just me, Corwin said. And the heating unit on 39. She makes a lot of noise. The woman looked up at him again. This time, something softened in her expression. Marlowe, she said. My name is Marlowe Voss. He nodded. Corwin. He didn't ask anything else. He picked up his mop and started moving slowly down the hall again, not to leave her, but to give her space. There is a kindness in that, in not making someone's pain the center of attention while still staying close enough to matter. After a few minutes, she spoke again. I flew in from Seattle tonight. I'm supposed to, she stopped, pressed her lips together. I'm supposed to walk into a board meeting tomorrow morning and tell people I've never met that I'm their new chief executive. She exhaled. I've been sitting here for an hour trying to convince myself I'm not making the biggest mistake of my life. Corwin was quiet. He leaned the mop against the wall and sat down on the bench near the elevator, the one nobody ever used because it faced a blank wall. You built something before this? He asked. She blinked. Yes. A smaller firm. In Seattle. And was that a mistake? No. That one I built myself. Then you already know how, he said simply. You're not scared of the work. You're scared of the room. Marlowe looked at him for a long time. Outside, the city glittered 42 floors below. Inside, the hallway held its quiet. How does a janitor know that? She asked, not unkindly, genuinely. Corwin smiled, just slightly. My mother ran a daycare for 20 years out of a house that barely had 2 rooms. Every September, she'd stand at that door watching new kids walk in, and she'd say, the room always gets smaller once you're standing in it. He paused. She was right. It always did. Marlowe was quiet. Then she reached down and began gathering the papers from the floor, slowly, carefully. She didn't rush. When she stood, she looked different somehow, not fixed, but steadied. Thank you, Corwin, she said. She meant it the way people mean things at midnight, fully, without performance. He nodded once. Get some sleep. The room will be smaller tomorrow. She walked in at 9 the next morning. Corwin was finishing his last hallway on the ground floor. The overnight stretch always ended with the lobby, when the front doors opened and Marlowe Voss stepped inside. Blazer pressed, posture straight, a calm in her eyes that hadn't been there 8 hours ago. She saw him. She stopped. Around her, 3 executives in expensive suits moved toward her with extended hands and rehearsed welcomes. Security handed her a keycard. Someone gestured toward the elevators. But for just a moment, in the middle of all of it, she looked across the lobby at the man with the mop and said nothing, only gave him a nod. Small. Certain. Like a person who had found their footing in the dark and was walking forward now in full light. He nodded back. 3 weeks passed. Corwin worked his shifts, learned the new CEO had already restructured 2 departments, and earned a reputation for walking floors personally rather than summoning people to her office. He heard this from Delia at the security desk, who heard it from maintenance, who heard it from everyone. Then one evening, as he was restocking the supply closet on 38, the elevator opened and Marlo Voss stepped out, alone, no assistants, no briefcase. "I've been looking for you," she said. "I move around," he said. She smiled briefly. Then she reached into the folder she was carrying and held out a single sheet of paper. "I'm creating a new building operations coordinator role. The person in this position will work directly with facilities, security, and executive staff to manage building welfare and staff support systems." She paused. "It requires someone who understands this building. And the people in it." Corwin looked at the paper. He looked at her. "I'm a janitor. You're a person who sat down in an empty hallway at midnight because a stranger was struggling," she said. "That's not nothing. That's actually very hard to find." He was quiet for a long moment. The hallway held that particular stillness it always held at this hour, the hum of the city far below, the fluorescent lights steady overhead. "I'd have to learn a lot," he said finally. "So would I," she said. "I still am." He accepted. He spent the first month learning systems he'd never touched before, reading manuals at his kitchen table until late, asking questions without embarrassment. And slowly, steadily, the role became his. Not because it was handed to him, but because he grew into it the way people grow into things that finally fit. And on the nights he worked late, passing the 42nd floor hallway, he always paused for a moment. He thought about a woman sitting on the floor with her shoes off and her papers scattered. He thought about how 1 cup of water and a few honest words had mattered more than she could have known in that moment. He thought about his mother and the door and the room getting smaller. It always did. The moral is woven into every quiet moment of this story. Kindness costs nothing and changes everything. Corwin didn't help Marlo because he expected anything. He helped because a person was hurting and he was there. That is enough. That has always been enough. And the world turns on exactly these moments, ordinary people, empty hallways, and the simple, radical choice to stay. If this story touched your heart, please like, share, subscribe, and comment. Let's spread more stories of kindness and hope together.